I've done some research, and I believe that there are several things we could be more aggressive in pursuit of. Florida has done a lot of tax credit scholarships, vouchers, charter schools. What we've got to do, we've got to change the model of the way we're educating our kids. You got a lady or a man standing in front of the class, got a bunch of kids sitting in desk in lines in order, and they're being talked to. Well, I mean, we've done that in 50 years, shows that model is not working. Now, we do have the National Education Association. We got the American Federation of Teachers. We got unions. And understandably, I don't blame them. They're interested in the welfare of their members, not the welfare of their students. I'm not suggesting they don't care about the children, but we're all self-preservationist as our priority. Reformed education has to come from the outside. I've read so many papers and research projects. Some are academic exercises. Some are, I would hold in less regard. But they are a part of this debate. But the majority of reform that has come to public education has been at the suggestion of public educators. That makes no sense to me. Go find some business people. Go find some innovators. Go find some creative minds. I'm not beating up on educators, but if we've done it this way for 50 years, do you really believe sincerely that educators want to change the way we're doing it? I tried to I use the analogy of college. Think of our K through 12. I think Ken Langone said yesterday, we spend the most money per pupil in the world. We're rated somewhere between 20 and 30. Our colleges are different. Most people in the world believe American colleges and universities are the most elite in the world. People come from all over the world to be educated in our higher education centers and universities. I think of the Ivy League schools, the Vanderbilts, the Dukes, the Stanfords, but even the Clemson and South Carolinas. I mean, they're well regarded, well respected. What's the difference in K through 12 and higher education? Why are we spending the most money in K through 12 and getting somewhere between the 20 and 30 top results, and in higher education, we're the creme de la creme? Why? I'll tell you why. When a kid graduates from high school, guess what he has? He has a choice. He chooses whether he goes to Stanford. He chooses whether he goes to Yale. He chooses whether he goes to Vanderbilt. Now, I didn't have that choice to make, but some real good students do. When you move to a neighborhood and you're of moderate means, who chooses where you go to school, Rev? The government, the districts, the lines, the boundaries. Now, we do move them around a little bit to try to get, so many African-American students in this school and so many white students in that school. That's social engineering. That's a story for another day. That makes no sense whatsoever, to believe that public education works better when we have the same number of white kids and the same number of African-American kids. What I'm saying is the reform that we're doing to public education, or what we call reform, is reform by career educators. There is very little choice in education. In fact, the status quo, I would call it the education elites. They don't want any vouchers. They don't want any charter schools. They don't want any tax credit scholarships, because that comes with competition. I've got a cup of coffee in my hand. Why did I stop there this morning? Because I think they do a pretty good job of getting me a pretty decent cup of coffee in a pretty timely amount of time. Guess what I do when they don't? I go somewhere else. Guess what happens if you don't make good widgets in the marketplace? Somebody finds somebody else to make those widgets. You go somewhere else and buy those widgets. What happens in public education if the school is failing? For the last 50 years, I can tell you what we've done. We spent more money on it, and more money, and more money. And we've done everything we could do to push back against competition when we should be embracing competition. Higher education, number one in the world. People from all over the planet come to the United States seeking the best education imaginable. There's choice. You graduate with straight A's and a 1,500 on the SAT, you can go anywhere in the world you want to go. Nobody makes you go anywhere. The government decides where your kid goes to school, K through 12. That is absolutely contrary to competition. Back in a minute. Schofield's our sponsor. Good morning, PD Live 95.